It's Toilet Tunes. And now we pause. It's Toilet Tunes. I'm your host, Sarah Morris. Folks come to my big green bathroom somewhere north of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we sing a little, we talk a bit, we put it out on the internet just in time for your Friday afternoon. Of course it's the internet, so you go on and watch it when you choose. But there's a new episode coming out real soon. So stay Toilet Tuned, stay Toilet Tuned. And that was our pause. My name is Sarah Morris, and I invite people into my big green bathroom. People like Dylan Hicks. Hello, Dylan.
Hey, nice to be here.
We kind of match, though we did not discuss it, and I'm pretty excited about that. I feel like we're thematically together, which is really good. We're going to sing a beautiful little song and then do some talking.
Okay, sounds good, yeah.
All right.
Once I had a secret love that lived in the heart of me. All too soon my secret love became impatient to be free. So I told a friendly star, as dreamers we often will, just how wonderful you are and why I'm so in love with you. Now I shout it from the highest hills, even told the golden daffodils. At last my heart's an open door, and my secret love's no secret anymore. Now I shout it from the highest hills, I even told the golden daffodils. At last my heart's an open door, and my secret love's no secret anymore.
Dylan Hicks, everybody. Oh, that's so beautiful. It's Doris Day. Doris Day had the original recording?
She had the biggest hit with it.
The biggest hit?
It was a team of songwriters, and I don't
I'm sure.
remember their names right now. I'm sorry.
I will link
to prepared with that. Okay,
I'll do the research and I link to it below, but it does, it's like such this tiny little perfection. And I love the idea that, can I put my elbow here?
Oh, yeah,
Can we? Sure, this will be a new look for
I'll just get a new one if you scratch it.
That a team of writers would like come up with such a perfect little poem. I don't know. It's just beautiful.
It's a kind of layered tune because I I don't know, as I've just confessed, I don't know much about the writers, but for obvious reasons, the tune became gay anthem almost immediately, and throughout, for decades. I'm not sure if people know it widely now, but Doris Day herself didn't know that until an interviewer told her, like in the 90s.
Really? Probably Barbara Walters.
I don't remember, but it's, I like that it has that, a lot of people, writers and artists and musicians would send a message textually or through code, but I think this was kind of inadvertent, but a lot of people heard it, so, yeah. I think also because it has all those 50s, like the celestial harps, and it has the sounds of Hollywood repression already. The music kind of has that, like it's the music that teenagers were liberated from, and Roger and Ryan Zemeckis movies.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, well, that just made my morning, just getting to listen to you sing that. Dylan Hicks, you are a songwriter and a singer and a musician and a band leader and also a novelist. And also, I read in your bio that you've written word puzzles.
Yeah, it was a relatively brief gig, maybe for about a year. They were not crossword puzzles. They were like things I could prepare on a Word document for the Paris Review's website, and so they were kind of like road games.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was fun. It was and then the editor moved on, and I kind of went with that person, but. So it was nice to do it. It was the compensation didn't quite equal the labor.
When does it? I mean, in our yes. Well, that's a puzzle on its own. You have been making music. Has your entire musical career? What I read was that your first album was a self-released cassette in 1990. Has your entire career taken place in the Twin Cities?
Yeah, I mean, we would tour a little bit in the 90s, but not too extensively. My parents moved here when I was 12, and I pretty much stayed here. Yeah. I was sort of. I took pretty much my 30s. I didn't perform. My wife and I were raising our son, and I needed to make a little more money, and it was just a lot of different stuff. So I had a long break during that period, which was kind of painful at first, but. That kind of is how that sort of writing career sort of began, and I think when I came back to music, I think it changed how I approached lyrics, kind of with a little more of a different approach to revision, I guess, that kind of thing. So
yeah, you just put out a new album, Modern Flora.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful. I listened to it in a very specific. On repeat on this road trip, so to me now it is associated with this stretch of dark road and then the stretch of dark road again, but it's beautiful. Can you tell us a bit about
how that came to be? How
that came to be?
So that record is with I have a couple different projects.
Yes.
I have a project with John Munson.
Hicks Party Supplies. John Munson has been exactly where you were, but on a different instrument.
Yeah. And then some other things too, and then the other project I have going is Dylan Hicks and Small Screens, and mostly we're a 6-piece group. And for this record, we expanded to 9 pieces, and it was very collaborative. How it worked is I wrote the tunes as I normally do, and then I kind of drafted. For most of I drafted arrangements on a notation app.
Okay. There's an app for that.
Yeah, there's an app for that. Yeah. And then I turned them over to the two other people in the group, and then also some of our guests. So J.C. Stanford is a trombonist and composer and arranger. He did they basically took those arrangements and then revised them and added their own material and just enriched them. And then Zach Harris did one of those tunes, and Christopher Thompson did one of those tunes. And originally I was hoping that everybody would do that, but a little scope creep, entered it.
Sure.
So maybe later, but so it turns out it's I really am proud of it, and it's it kind of had a nice balance of letting me kind of stretch a bit, but also let these other people who have all these gifts, kind of contribute a lot, and things that I would never be able to execute or imagine. So that was really cool.
9 people is a lot to embark upon something that collaborative with, right? Like that's a beautiful, bold move, I think.
Yeah, I think we got pretty good at like sort of, you kind of reseed different parts and kind of come to the, and then, with the arrangements often there was one tune that was not arranged very formally, but, usually I kind of feel like, with most projects I kind of feel like after I've written the song and, put a chart together and maybe a demo or whatever, most of my work is done.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I try to kind of, guide, but kind of recede a bit and let other people do their thing.
Yeah.
So in this case, with other people doing the arrangements, they kind of became the group leader, at least for that tune.
Neat.
Because, they did the arrangement, they would be the best person to answer questions, so, and then sometimes I'd have to kind of, we'd kind of pass the baton a bit, or, That's maybe not the metaphor, I guess.
Let's pass the baton. No, that's awesome. That if you're telling someone, okay, I want you to put on more Modern Flora for this is when you're listening to it. What would you say? Like I listened to it on this dark road and it felt perfect. But what would you say to someone who hasn't listened to it yet? Like, it's best enjoyed.
Well,
in this experience.
Mid-November, I think is.
It is. Even though they've got the title, If Spring Comes Like They Say.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It does, I don't know, it was, it's funny because, this doesn't quite answer your question, but, I have this notebook that I use, to, jot down ideas I have for projects,
Yeah.
I don't usually consult it, and I don't pursue these projects.
I think that makes getting it out is part
yeah,
of
and
it.
sometimes you do remember those, so I did have I can't document this, but I'm almost certain that I have the same list of different, like a lot of projects that I wanted to do, and one of them was to take this sort of 6-piece palette and expand it further, and and kind of figure out some way to collaborate on arrangements. And then another one was like, I was just calling it a Beach Boys record. I didn't really define that, but I guess it was like kind of lush, kind of, a lot of harmony, and then I also kind of wanted to do songs that were sort of pop songs, but kind of expansive, so it's like, the pop song kind of emerges from this other larger structure or whatever. So, in some ways, this record is less of a pop record than most of the stuff that I do, but at the same time I think it's very much a pop record. So I think it kind of felt summery, even though it's not, it's not a very up record, but it feels bright to me, I guess.
Sure.
It
feels like a record also to me. I mean, like I want people to ingest it as a record versus taking songs apart.
Okay,
Does that feel like a thing for you?
I still think that way. I mean, I think when I was I like to listen to, singles, and I'll listen, but I probably usually think of an album. Project is usually how I guess I was sort of acclimated to that as sort of that's the work, the main recording work at least, but it hasn't always been that way. So I'm making a record now that I sort of think will be kind of an 11 p.m. record.
Oh.
So you guys know the time.
Yes, that's for 11 p.m. I'm never awake at 11 p.m., but maybe I would just pretend it was 11 p.m. in a different time zone. I would adopt theirs. That's what I do at New Year's. I'm like, it's 12 o'clock over the ocean, so I can celebrate now.
Yeah, we'll see if it happens. It's kind of a hard. I love those. There are a lot of records I like at that time, like kind of quiet but not backgroundy, I guess, and. But it's kind of hard as songwriters to write. Sometimes it's hard for me to write a record that, functions like that, because usually it's like, I just want to put out my best songs that I have right now. Sure. They might not all cohere. But I guess we'll find out next PR cycle.
We'll find out. Next cycle. You have a show coming up with Small Screens, the sextet version.
Yeah.
On November 23rd at Astor. With Sam and Jay opening. Did I get that right? Yes. Yeah. What I love about 1123 is it's 1-1-2-3, and I also think you should go and see this show because it'll be wonderful.
Yeah. Now I have a mnemonic for that because people. When is that? I don't know. It's
Do re mi. Yeah. you can keep the poster, like I said. I know you were really stunned by it.
I mean, I want...
You thought it was pretty great.
I know you don't want to share the name of the artist, but
Yes, so that will be... So who is in Small Screens?
Yeah, so the sextet lineup is Peter Hennig on drums.
Okay.
Dan Carpel is the bassist. Charlie Lincoln plays on that last record, but he's in New York now.
Okay.
Dan's amazing, and it's so great to have him with us. Michelle Kinney is the cellist. Zach Harris on guitar, and Christopher Thompson mostly on tenor saxophone, but sometimes on alto and clarinet, and sometimes we'll play keyboards.
Cool.
And then I play piano and a little guitar and sing. So, and then Elaine Burt, J.C. Sanford, and Brian Murray are the people in the no-net version, which I love as well. But as you say, it's not quite practical to do that.
I think even 6 people at Astor is like,
you're
getting cozy. Everyone should wear deodorant that night. Everyone should make sure they brush their teeth. Like, no one's having raw onions because it's a tiny little...
Yeah, right.
It's a tiny little... But it'll be a beautiful room to listen to your music.
I like playing there. We're pretty relaxed there, and it's kind of... we usually will try some new things or a cover we haven't played, and, it's kind of...
That's a good thing.
I mean, I don't mean to say that we don't take it seriously. We take it very
seriously.
It's a nice environment to try some stuff.
Yeah, I think that's taking it seriously, and it's a different way, right? It's like saying, like, we feel safe here, and we're going to try something new. We're going to invite you, listener, to be part of that.
Yeah.
I would love to take a second to thank. We have sponsors.
Oh wow! Okay.
I know. I did offer Dylan coffee, but Dylan didn't want to be caffeinated, which I understand. But we are sponsored by Winnow MN, which is a coffee roasting subscription service, where they partner with local roasters in Minnesota, to bring you a bag of freshly roasted coffee every month from a different roaster. So you can travel the state without leaving your house, which I think is lovely. And that's what Winnow looks like. And if you use code STAYToiletTunes, you get $5 off your first bag. I've been drinking Misfit coffee. They have a wonderful coffee shop in the Twin Cities as well. But so thank you, Winnow. And our other sponsor is WACIC, which is the Wyoming Area Creative Arts Community. Have you ever sung up in Wyoming at the Hallberg Center for the Arts?
No.
It's a beautiful building dedicated to arts of all kinds. So they have a gallery space for visual art. They do community workshops and classes, and once a month they have a singer-songwriter series where they invite singer-songwriters to come and share their music. They pay them. They offer an audience ready to listen intently. It's beautiful. And so their next show is December 5th. It's Alicia Kay, Phil Burbank, and Joyanne Parker. So if you are either near Wyoming, Minnesota on December 5th, or you have YouTube, I will link to that below. Okay, on Toilet Tunes, I have some questions I need to ask you. You ready for this? I know, you're like, but you already asked me a bunch of questions, Sarah Morris. There's more. These are the standards. Okay. The first one is, Dylan Hicks, will you tell me something good? Tell me. Something good that you know. Something good that's out there, in here, wherever. Big, small, any kind.
Oh. Well, I just been listening to music by a woman named Patricia Brennan. She's a vibraphonist and marimbist and composer, and she plays a lot as a side person, Mary Halverson, and lots of different people. But she's a couple of records, 3 records now under her own name. The first record I kind of returned to. It's a solo record, vibes and marimba.
Oh, cool.
Some improvised, some composed. It's quite dark harmonically, but also very kind of ambient and soothing. So if you kind of want something that sort of feels kind of like this week, I for one am anxious.
Yes.
If you want something that kind of is somewhat therapeutic, but you don't want it to be simply pretty. It has elements of beauty and also elements of kind of this dissonance. So it's kind of been returning to that the last couple of weeks.
You Substack. You wrote an essay about this.
Yeah. That's why I'm so fluid about it.
Right. So I am kind of a Substack nerd. I subscribe to too many people. Like I started early and I'm like, yes, yes. And now suddenly I'm like, I can't read all of these things. But I was overjoyed to see that you signed up because the little that I know about you, you are intelligent and thoughtful and super cool. And I was like, well, this will be a fun space to learn. And I just read your essay about.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It's kind of a nice. I mean, I'm usually pretty liberal about like if someone friends me on social media, I don't hem and haw about it.
Right.
You know, just the right thing.
Is this an accept? Is this a oh?
I mean, you know, unless it feels like it's a commercial endeavor, I usually just, you know. Anyway, but I had to kind of switch. I was getting about 150 emails from Substack a week, and I had to kind of. Now I just go to the site.
Yep.
You know, a couple of times a week because I was getting so many emails, and like you say, it's sort of like. You're doing your work and then someone pushes an article right in front of your face at 11 a.m. and you're like, oh no, I don't have time for this right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I hope maybe I might try to pursue that. It's kind of a challenge because I used to do that. I mean, I came out okay personally, but I used to do that professionally, and now there's really no market for that.
Gotcha.
For music criticism.
Okay.
A very limited market. So it's a little challenging. I still really enjoy it. I enjoyed it more when I was compensated for it.
I mean, that sounds... and you can compensate. I mean, I think the thing with Substack is there are ways to support writers. I want to support everyone. I find
but it's not feasible.
It's not feasible.
You know,
I do support probably 10 or 15. You know, I mean, that is a thing. So... I will link to the Substack below.
Sure. I'm not asking for that yet because I'm not sure I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it.
Well, that's generous of you to try it first in that way and see how it fits and feels. Well, that is a good thing. It's good to find the music that kind of hits you where you're at and can. I mean, the way I heard you describe that album is like, it's not going to dumb down the situation. It's going to find you in that complexity and also offer a little bit of the comfort.
Yeah, I
perhaps,
think so. I mean,
which is a nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think too that it's sort of like you have to. I always think there's with art and music or books or whatever that you don't always. Sometimes you missed it. It's like I don't really want to return to the music of my youth all that frequently. Yeah. I will. Sure. But when I do, I want it to be powerful. Mm. So I really I'm very deliberate about limiting my... Also, a lot of the music from my youth is just in the world. I go to the store and there it is. Yeah, and it's there while you're picking out. Yeah, so I I feel like, okay, maybe I'll have maybe 4 or 5 more listening sessions of this record in my life, I want them to have, some power. Yeah. So, and I just think sometimes it's sort of like, so I don't know what I'm saying. I guess what I mean is that I try to intuit what I want now because, okay, this is an example I used to use. I'm not sure if it's accurate anymore, but when I was young, some people with bohemian aspirations would still read Jack Kerouac's On the Road. Sure. I think if you didn't read it when between 15 and 25, you may have missed it. Yeah. You may have missed the experience. Yeah. If you come back to it, you can come back to the pleasure, but it might not be the same as when you're reading it young. You know? I think there's a lot of stuff like that. I have books like that too that I'm they were so impactful at a certain moment, and I know if I were to go back to them, it's just because it was the combination of that energy and my growth. Yeah. With that media. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Are you ready? Oh. Go ahead. For the next question. I am. Are you ready for? Okay. The next question is, where are you learning right now? These are so open-ended. I like these. Where am I learning right now? Well, I mean, it's an interesting question right now because I'm, trying to figure out. I'm sad about the election. Yeah. And, I'm trying to figure out, how much, I don't want to, we're kind of shamed if we tune out, because that's civically irresponsible.
Right.
At the same time, it's not necessarily healthy or useful to spend an hour and a half a day reading about things that might happen starting 3 months from now.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
trying to find this place where I'm not, being ostrich-like or, but at the same time, maybe thinking about taking other things, I think too that, one thing that I don't mean to diminish anything that could happen.
Sure.
But I think sometimes in my own life, I am sometimes a little selectively empathetic based on who I think is responsible for suffering. So if I feel like there's a villain that I recognize as a villain, it makes me more anxious about this. Suffering is always happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But so I'm still trying to navigate that. In terms of, I learn a lot from the people I play with, and in terms of music, I don't have a lot of formal training, so.
I was going to ask you that if you had compositional training at some point.
No, I had maybe a year and a half of piano lessons when I was a boy, and they might have continued, but we moved, and the piano didn't move with us, and it wasn't. It's not an interesting story.
No.
But well.
Could be a poem. Feels like a poem.
My parents consigned the piano, and the people they consigned it to didn't pay. So we couldn't really get a replacement. So, but my stepdad is a guitarist, and so there were a couple of guitarists around. He's not a wasn't a professional guitarist, but a lifelong guitarist. And so I kind of learned how to some piano fingering and kind of how to. I don't read music well. I can read it to learn something, and I can write it.
So most of it's ear.
I can read, but it depends on what your standard is. Like I know how it works, and I can read and write music, but I can't sight read. So by some standards, it's no, he doesn't read.
We're not those kinds of people here in the bathroom. We just we're.
It's really important for me. It's useful for my writing, and especially because I'm usually doing situations where we're not able to rehearse a whole lot.
Sure.
I think that helps. But no, I don't really have that. It's mostly just from songbooks and kind of very gradual ear training, I guess. But I used to be pretty self-conscious about it because I'm usually playing with people who have more technical gifts than I do. But I've become less that way. I guess that's one nice thing about getting older. I'm not quite as. I'm still insecure about it, but not as much as I used to be.
Well, you write beautiful music,
Thank you.
And so I think probably everyone feels really lucky to be a part of it. Plus, hearing your ethos behind how you want to create with others feels
that's changed.
Spectacular.
That's changed. I wasn't that way when I was younger, and that's changed over the years, and it's become kind of a. I idealize it a bit, but it's become sort of a. Kind of a, as you say, kind of an ethos. I'm hopefully, I think one thing that I've learned from the jazz world, which I'm not part of, but I feel peripherally connected to because some of the musicians I play with some of them are more improvising musicians, some of them are more into jazz, have jazz training, some of them are rock people and various people, but I listen to a lot of jazz as well. But, for instance, I just read this book a couple weeks ago, by this guy Franz Nicolay. He's probably best known as a keyboardist and I think kind of a utility person for the Hold Steady, the rock group Hold Steady.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but he does his own music as well, and he's now kind of moved more into academia. It's a book called Band People, and it's really about people it's not really about session musicians, and it's not necessarily about people who are in strictly democratic bands, but people who have some kind of supporting role in a band that identifies as a band. So a member of Wilco. There's obviously a leader, Jeff Tweedy is the leader of the group, and it's not strictly democracy, but that would be one example, or it could be something a little more, you're on retainer and, whatever. It was a cool look at the ethics and economics of that, but...
I will link to that, because that does sound really interesting.
Yeah, I think you'd like it. It was a lot about, some stuff about publishing as songwriters, we kind of know about the ethics of that. We write songs, and I don't make money on publishing, but I take the publishing.
Yep.
But obviously, people are contributing things that overlap with songwriting.
Right.
It's a different the songwriter thing is a little different because usually we kind of compensate people up front and then kind of,
Yes.
But anyway, where was this leading? There was, I know.
I was going to say,
in the pop world,
yes.
And when I was younger, if like, okay, we're doing a rock tune or a pop tune, and we got an 8-bar solo.
Yeah.
And someone's overdubbing the 8-bar solo.
Yeah.
And then you're in the control room, and you're like, maybe a little more of a, can we give it more of a David Sanborn feel,
Sure.
and keep, not quite, like maybe it's a little,
yeah.
fewer notes, or whatever. It's that kind of thing,
You could play like 12 less notes of that 13-note pass.
Yeah, and actually that's a totally reasonable way to go about making music and arranging music, and I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just a different way, and I'm not usually a session player, but once in a while I'm in that situation where I'm trying to play something, people direct me, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in the jazz world, it's the soloist's job to decide whether their improvisation is adequate.
Right.
And if they say, I didn't feel good about that, I'd like to do another take.
Yeah, then you do it.
Yeah, and you don't say like, you don't really direct that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that is kind of, I've learned from that to be more like, the more liberty, if you give enough direction through the song, but there's a feeling that we all are at liberty to kind of express ourselves, we'll probably all play better.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll create a more socially harmonious situation where we'll all play together better because it's more communicative, less hierarchical. So it's kind of hard to navigate because, you are the leader of the group, and, we're not playing together every week, and we're not 26 and like looking to become famous, or whatever. But it is, it's just time.
I thought we were 26, but okay.
Yeah, just turned 29. But I don't know. So I think that I've learned I learned a lot from, I take a lot of inspiration from jazz, and I think from trying to figure out, is there a way to kind of use some of that without feeling like an interloper,
right.
Because it's not really,
Yeah,
I have that training, but I like to take inspiration from it, So.
I got 2 more quickies.
Great.
Okay. What for you is a steady beat of it, something that you can return to when you need support or renewal, or, like what can you just come back to? You can depend on it. It's there.
These are really, I really like, these are
these are the standard. These are the ones I.
Yeah, but they're really,
Thank you.
they're really thought-provoking and open. Well, I'm so emotional this week.
Yes.
I mean, my wife Nina Hale is probably that person for me. I mean, we've been together for 30 years now, and I have a lot of stuff with depression and anxiety and stuff like that. And, I'm sorry.
No, I mean.
I'm really kind of fragile this week. She really, we're really good partners for each other, and so, and other members of my son Jackson and my whole family too. But so that, and I guess music itself too. I got to play last night. With.
Oh, that's right.
The second stringers,
Yes.
Lars and Nick and Blair. I hadn't played with them before, and it was kind of a no rehearsal gig.
Yep, that's the deal.
I really enjoyed that. It was really, was really kind of, I was anxious about it the week before, I was like, I don't know, it's going to be weird seeing on Wednesday. I'm not sure what it's going to be like.
For sure.
But it was exactly what I needed,
Yeah.
So,
Music has a way with that. Speaking of music, can you mentioned one recording that you were enjoying already, but could you spin us out to something right now that's getting your ears hot and bothered, is what I like to say. Something that's like inspiring you, turning you on. Just one thing we can put on our players.
Okay, yeah. Well, the thing I'm listening to this week a little bit is probably not, I'm not sure if I would, I kind of splurged on this boxed set by this outfit out of Champaign, Illinois.
Oh.
It's I think there are a couple, I don't remember their names right now, but they put out collections of music from the recording era before electronic recording, so before microphones and before, when it was all acoustically done into a horn. So which was how the recordings were done from the 1890s through,
Yes.
mid-20s basically. And so they have, most of the music is not music I have, deep knowledge of.
Sure.
But they have a new record that's about, dedicated to the music of Joe King Oliver, who was a New Orleans cornet player and band leader and kind of a pioneer of jazz. And Louis Armstrong was in his group. And, these are recordings from 1923.
Sure.
So it has those recordings. Like I said, this is kind of a specialist box. I'm not sure if I'm saying race out and buy it, but you might be able to access the music. But the one thing that's really cool about it, well, a lot of things are cool about it, but so one of the discs is made up of actual 78s and other music that Louis Armstrong owned during that period. Oh. So it's kind of like the music, the very, very eclectic music from sort of opera arias to military bugle calls to blues, and there wasn't not a lot of black jazz had been recorded at that point yet. So anyway, that's kind of cool. It's sort of like basically cool. Like it's like Louis Armstrong's record collection or a fragment of his record collection from his youth.
I will look up to see if I can find this, and if not, I'm gonna look up some Joe King Oliver and see what.
Yeah. So
sometimes the box sets are hard to get online or like to stream, but to link in this way.
Yeah, it's a little intense. It's a lot of music, but I've been enjoying it. And it's kind of like I try to do it where I like listen to maybe just 2 tracks at a time to kind of reproduce the sort of 78 thing.
Cool.
The CDs, sometimes
Pretend.
like an hour and a half or not an hour, an hour and 10 minutes of 23 songs can be a little overwhelming.
It can contain so much more information, and sometimes we don't need so much more information. Mm. There's that. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Taking your time and joining me in my bathroom. I'm going to thank Winnow again. Winnow MN, thank you so much for sponsoring us. Stay Toilet Tune is your code for $5 off your first bag. I want to thank WACC again, Wyoming Area Community Arts Council. Nope, Wyoming Area Creative Arts Community. That's what it is. I get it right like 70% of the time. Okay, yeah. And then the most, my favorite people to thank ever are my Patreons. Sarah subscribers over on Patreon. Thank you so very much for making it possible for me to do things like legitimately ask people into my bathroom. Like Dylan Hicks. Everybody, be well, be kind, and till next Friday. Stay toilet tuned.